The golden planet of Proxima Centauri hung precariously in the viewport, casting amber light across the silent corridor of New Proxima Station. The massive orbital installation balanced in the delicate Goldilocks zone between freezing death and incinerating heat, 30 million lives suspended by 700 meters of gravitational tether technology. On Level 47, Maintenance Sector C, a single cryopod hummed quietly, its occupant undisturbed for far longer than regulations permitted. The station's primary AI, Novus, ran another autonomous diagnostic, noting with mechanical indifference that Pod C-117 remained active despite all associated personnel files having been archived decades ago. Inside the cryopod, Maxwell Howell floated in suspended animation, his consciousness reduced to the barest flicker. The skilled mechanic's last memories were of hastily written notes, emergency alarms, and the cold embrace of cryosleep that was supposed to last 48 hours, not 38 years. Above his sleeping form, the station blazed with life. 30 million residents utterly unaware that their entire civilization hung by a thread, a gravitational tether slowly failing due to a temporary fix that should have been replaced nearly 4 decades ago. Stardate 2187-43. In the central administrative tower, Dr. Eliza Morgan frowned at her quantum display. The chief theoretical physicist had been tracking anomalous oscillations in the station's gravitational anchors for weeks. Something was wrong with Tether 3, and the fluctuations were growing more pronounced by the day. "Run the simulation again," she instructed her assistant, Finn Abernathy, a lanky newcomer whose technical brilliance was matched only by his social awkwardness. "I've run it 17 times, Dr. Morgan," Finn replied, pushing his glasses up his nose. "The results are consistent. There's a degradation pattern in the tether matrix that doesn't match any known failure mode." "That's impossible," Eliza muttered, pulling up the tether schematics. These systems were designed with multiple redundancies. Even catastrophic failure in one section should trigger automatic rerouting. "Well, something's bypassing the rerouting protocols," Finn said, "and whatever it is, it's reached a critical threshold. If these calculations are correct, we have approximately 38 days before total anchor failure." Eliza's blood ran cold. 38 days before 30 million people would be flung into either the freezing void or the scorching atmosphere of Proxima Centauri. She needed to alert Governor Hardwick immediately. The governor's office occupied the highest level of the station, affording him an unparalleled view of both the golden planet below and the star-studded blackness of space. Aldrich Hardwick had governed New Proxima for 15 years. Having risen through the ranks of colonial administration with ruthless efficiency. "A failure in Tether 3, he repeated, his voice carefully measured as Eliza finished her report. "And you're certain of this?" "The data is unequivocal," Eliza confirmed. "Something is disrupting the gravitational field integrity. At current degradation rates, we have just over a month before catastrophic orbit destabilization." Governor Hardwick turned to his secure terminal, inputting a complex series of authorizations. "What I'm about to show you is classified at the highest level," he said as the screen illuminated with decades-old records. 38 years ago, there was an incident with Tether 3, a critical failure in the main resonator assembly that threatened immediate station collapse. Eliza leaned forward, scanning the text. "There's no record of this in the public archives." "It was expunged," Hardwick said flatly. "Colonial administration didn't want panic. According to this report, a mechanic named Maxwell Howell implemented an emergency fix that was supposed to last 48 hours, just long enough for a replacement resonator to arrive from Earth. But the replacement never happened," Eliza concluded, her mind racing. "This temporary fix has been holding the station in place for 38 years? That's impossible," Hardwick finished. Apparently not. The incoming resonator was lost when the supply ship suffered a drive malfunction. By then, Howell's fix seemed to be working so well that the incident was buried in classified archives and eventually forgotten. "Where is Howell now?" Eliza asked urgently. Hardwick's expression darkened. That's the problem. After implementing his fix, Howell was placed in emergency cryosleep due to radiation exposure. He was supposed to be revived once the situation stabilized, but... "Let me guess," Eliza said, "someone forgot about him too. His personnel file was accidentally tagged for archive instead of active status." Hardwick admitted. "He's been in cryosleep for 38 years. A deafening alarm suddenly blared throughout the governor's office. The station's AI voice, unnervingly calm, announced, "Critical structural integrity failure detected in gravitational tether 3. Current integrity 13%, catastrophic orbital destabilization predicted in 38 minutes. This is not a drill. All personnel proceed to emergency evacuation protocols." Eliza stared at the governor in horror. 38 days just became 38 minutes. "We need to wake Howell," Hardwick said grimly. "Now." In cryopod C-117, Maxwell Howell's consciousness stirred for the first time in nearly 4 decades. Neural pathways long dormant began to fire, memories reassembling like puzzle pieces in a fog. Something was beeping, loudly, insistently. Red light filtered through his closed eyelids. "Asimov's mustache," he muttered, his voice a raspy whisper after decades of disuse. His eyelids felt like they were weighted with lead as he forced them open, blinking painfully against the harsh emergency lighting. The cryopod's automated revival sequence continued, gradually bringing his body functions back to operational levels. Maxwell tried to move his arms, but his muscles, atrophied despite the cryopod's electrical stimulation protocols, refused to cooperate fully. "Mr. Howell," came a voice from the pod's speaker. "This is Governor Hardwick. I need you to focus. The station is in imminent danger of collapse. Your temporary fix to Tether 3 is failing." Maxwell's brain struggled to process the information. Temporary fix? Tether 3? His memories were returning in disjointed flashes. "That was a 48-hour patch job. How long have I been under?" A brief hesitation. 38 years, Mr. Howell." 38 years, Maxwell croaked, suddenly very awake. "That's not possible. My fix couldn't possibly hold that long." "Nevertheless, it did," the governor replied tersely. "And now it's failing. We have less than 35 minutes before catastrophic orbital destabilization. We need your help." Maxwell struggled to sit up as the cryopod's canopy retracted. "My notebook," he gasped. "I need my repair notebook. Everything about the fix is in there." Another pause. "Your personal effects were placed in storage," Governor Hardwick said carefully. "However, all paper documentation was digitized and destroyed as part of the station's paperless colony initiative 25 years ago." "Destroyed?" Maxwell felt panic rising. No, you don't understand. I used non-standard methods, improvised components. Without my notes, the digital records appear to have been corrupted or misplaced during the Great System Migration of 72, the governor admitted. "We're trying to locate any surviving data now." Maxwell swore colorfully, 30 million lives hanging in the balance, and his vital repair notes had been bureaucratically erased from existence. "I need to get to Tether 3, he said, attempting to stand and immediately collapsing back onto the cryopod's edge. "And I need someone to find my notebook. I kept backup physical copies hidden in my quarters. Your former quarters were reassigned decades ago," the governor informed him. "But I'll assign someone to search the storage archives immediately." In the bustling black market sector of Level 28, Lux Donovan was in the middle of negotiating the sale of a rare pre-colony artifact when her secure comm unit buzzed with a priority contract offer. The smuggler-turned-broker raised an eyebrow at the authorization code, straight from the governor's office. "Excuse me," she told her disappointed client, stepping aside to review the job details. The offer was unprecedented, an obscene amount of credits to locate a physical notebook belonging to one Maxwell Howell, believed to be somewhere in the station's vast storage archives, with a time frame of less than 30 minutes. Lux smiled. Impossible deadlines and obscure items were her specialty. "Contract accepted," she confirmed, already calculating which of her contacts in archival services would be most useful, as she slipped through the crowded corridors toward the lower levels. Lux noticed something odd, subtle vibrations in the station's structure that weren't part of the normal operational rhythm. Whatever had the governor paying premium rates must be serious indeed. Meanwhile, in the Emergency Operations Center, Finn Abernathy was frantically searching through outdated technical schematics when something caught his eye, a small notation in the margin of Tether 3's original design documents. The note, nearly invisible due to poor scan quality, simply read, "Maxwell's Demon installed as temporary resonator bypass. Ref personal log for details." Maxwell's Demon, Finn muttered, initiating a search for the term. The results were sparse, a theoretical concept from ancient thermodynamics, nothing related to gravitational tether technology. But one obscure reference in the engineering archives mentioned a prototype device developed by Maxwell Howell that had been nicknamed Maxwell's Demon by his colleagues due to its seemingly impossible efficiency. Finn's hands flew across the interface. If he could locate this device in the tether systems, perhaps he could stabilize it long enough for a more permanent solution. In Cryosection C, Maxwell was being helped into an emergency mobility suit by two medical technicians. His atrophied muscles could barely support his weight, and every movement sent stabbing pains through his body. The revival should have included a gradual physical therapy regimen, one technician murmured to the other. "Waking him this rapidly will cause significant trauma." "No time," Maxwell grunted, forcing his shaking legs to take another step. "How long until tether failure?" 29 minutes, replied the AI's calm voice from overhead. "Structural integrity now at 11%. I need to get to tether access junction T37, Maxwell said. "And I need my tools, my original toolkit." "Sir, your belongings would have been recycled decades ago," one technician began. "No," Maxwell interrupted. "My toolkit was custom, marked for permanent storage under Technical Directive 47B, indestructible case with a molecular lock keyed to my DNA." The technicians exchanged glances. "We'll request a search," one said doubtfully. As Maxwell struggled toward the door, it slid open to reveal Dr. Eliza Morgan. The physicist assessed him with a clinical gaze. "Mr. Howell, I'm Dr. Morgan, Chief of Theoretical Physics. I've been studying the anomalies in Tether 3. Then you know we're all about to die spectacularly," Maxwell replied, grimacing as he took another painful step forward. "I've reviewed what records we could find," Eliza continued, falling into step beside him. "Your temporary fix has defied all physical principles by lasting this long." "What exactly did you do?" Maxwell laughed bitterly. "I broke every regulation in the book, Doctor. Used unauthorized components, non-standard methodologies. That's why my notebook is so important. None of what I did would have been captured in official documentation." "Because it wasn't supposed to last," Eliza concluded. 48 hours, Maxwell confirmed. "Just long enough for the replacement resonator to arrive, and what happened?" "Supply ship was destroyed en route," Eliza explained as they entered a gravity lift. By the time another could be dispatched, your fix was working so well that someone decided it wasn't urgent anymore. Someone decided wrong, Maxwell muttered. The lift descended rapidly toward the lower levels. With each passing deck, the subtle vibrations in the station's structure grew more pronounced. Structural integrity at 9%, announced the AI. 24 minutes to catastrophic failure. In the cavernous expanse of Archive Storage Block D, Lux Donovan had called in every favor she was owed. A dozen storage workers were now frantically searching through preservation crates that hadn't been opened in decades. "It's gotta be here somewhere," she muttered, scanning container manifests with practiced efficiency. Personal effects, M. Howell, Technical Division. "They got something," called a worker from deep within the stacks. "Containment case, molecular lock intact, registered to Maxwell Howell." Lux rushed over, examining the heavy-duty case. "This is his toolkit, not his notebook," she said, checking the manifest tag. "Keep looking for paper materials." "Paper?" The worker looked confused. "That would have been digitized during the—" "I know about the paperless initiative," Lux cut him off. "But this guy was old school. If he knew his notes were important, he would have hidden physical copies somewhere." She tapped her comm unit. "Governor, we've located Howell's toolkit, still searching for the notebook." As she spoke, her eye caught a small anomaly in the toolkit case. A slight bulge in the interior lining that didn't match the exterior dimensions. "Hold on," she murmured, examining the case more closely. "I think—" With practiced fingers, she located and triggered a hidden compartment in the case's lining. A slim, leather-bound notebook slid into her hand. "Scratch that, Governor," she said, unable to keep the triumph from her voice. "We've found both." In Tether Control Junction T37, Maxwell stared at the monitoring displays in horror. The gravitational anchor that he'd helped install nearly 4 decades ago was now a chaotic mess of contradictory energy signatures and structural failures. "This is wrong," he said, scrolling through the diagnostic data. "My fix should have failed completely within days, not degraded like this over decades." "That's what's been confusing us," Finn admitted, having joined them from the EOC. "The degradation pattern doesn't match any known failure mode." Maxwell shook his head. "Because it's not failing the way it was designed to fail. It's failing the way my jury-rigged system fails." He turned to Eliza. "I need to get inside the tether core right now." "That's impossible," she objected. "The gravitational forces inside the core would crush you instantly." "Not if I use my original equipment," Maxwell countered. "My temporary fix included a localized gravity dampening field. If it's still partially functional, I can use it to reach the central chamber." "And if it isn't?" Eliza challenged. Maxwell gave her a grim smile. "Then you'll be cleaning me off the inside of the tether wall with a molecular scraper." The emergency access doors to Junction T37 slid open, admitting Captain Voss and a squad of security officers. The captain's stern expression made it clear this wasn't a social call. "Maxwell Howell," Voss announced formally. "By order of Station Safety Protocol 17A, you are forbidden from attempting any unauthorized modifications to critical station infrastructure." "Are you serious?" Maxwell sputtered. "The whole station is about to break apart." "And station regulations clearly state that only certified current personnel may access tether systems." Voss continued implacably. "Your certification expired 37 years ago." Eliza stepped forward. "Captain, I'm authorizing emergency protocol override. My clearance as Chief of Theoretical Physics is insufficient," Voss interrupted. "Only the governor can authorize such an override, and he has explicitly ordered that no one tamper with the tether until a full analysis can be completed." Maxwell stared in disbelief. "In 19 minutes, There won't be a station left to analyze. The standoff was broken by the arrival of Lux Donovan, who sauntered into the junction with Maxwell's toolkit case in one hand and his notebook in the other. "Special delivery," she announced, tossing the notebook to Maxwell, who caught it with surprising dexterity. "Governor Hardwick sends his compliments and says, and I quote, 'Fix the damn tether and ignore Captain Voss.'" Voss's face reddened. "This is highly irregular. ESO is having 30 million people die because of bureaucratic obstruction." Lux cut him off cheerfully. "The governor also instructed me to inform you that if you interfere further, you'll be spending the rest of your very short career cleaning waste reclamation filters. With your tongue, or—" Captain Voss's jaw worked silently for a moment before he nodded stiffly to his security team. "We'll maintain a perimeter to ensure no unauthorized personnel enter," he said, attempting to salvage some authority from the situation. As the security team withdrew to the junction entrance, Maxwell flipped through his notebook with trembling fingers. "Here it is," he murmured. "The Maxwell's demon configuration. I used a dessert spoon from the commissary as a quantum wave guide." "A dessert spoon?" Finn repeated incredulously. "Silver-plated," Maxwell confirmed. "It had just the right curvature to redirect the resonator harmonics." He looked up at Lux. "Is my toolkit intact?" Lux placed the case on a nearby console and pressed her thumb against the DNA scanner. "It's keyed to you now," she said. "I took the liberty of updating the recognition protocols." Maxwell raised an eyebrow. "Smuggler?" "Information broker," Lux corrected with a smirk. The case hummed and clicked open, revealing an immaculately preserved set of specialized tools, many of which Finn didn't recognize. Maxwell's hands moved reverently over the implements before selecting several and placing them in the pockets of his mobility suit. "Structural integrity at 7%, the AI announced. 15 minutes to catastrophic failure." "I need to access the core," Maxwell said, turning to Eliza. "Can you get me through the safety interlocks?" Eliza nodded, moving to the main console. Her fingers danced across the interface, bypassing security protocols with administrative overrides. "The inner chamber access will open for exactly 30 seconds, she explained. "After that, the automated systems will force a lockdown regardless of what I do." "That's all I need," Maxwell assured her, though his weakened legs trembled visibly beneath him. Finn stepped forward. "I'm coming with you," he said, surprising himself as much as the others. "You can barely stand. You'll need someone to help carry equipment." Maxwell assessed the young technician thoughtfully before nodding. "Hope you've updated your life insurance, kid. Actually, I helped design the theoretical model for the new tether resonator that was supposed to replace your fix." Finn admitted, "I might be able to help integrate whatever solution you come up with." "And I'm coming too," Lux interjected. "My payment terms include seeing this through to completion." When the others looked skeptical, she added, "I'm also certified in microgravitational manipulation. Black market certification, but still." Maxwell glanced at Eliza, who shrugged. "At this point, we have nothing to lose." The inner chamber access portal cycled open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a narrow corridor that led toward the tether core. Immediately, the group could feel the disorienting pull of the gravitational forces that were barely contained within. "Structural integrity at 5%, the AI noted dispassionately. 13 minutes to catastrophic failure." Maxwell took a deep breath and stepped into the corridor, Finn and Lux close behind. The door sealed shut behind them with ominous finality. The approach to the tether core was like walking through increasingly dense molasses. Each step required more effort than the last as conflicting gravitational fields tugged at their bodies from multiple directions. "This is just the outer containment zone," Maxwell gasped, leaning heavily on Finn. It gets much worse at the core interface. Lux, who moved with surprising grace despite the gravitational distortions, pointed ahead. Those panels are showing critical stress fractures, she observed. The whole containment system is on the verge of collapse. When they reached the core interface, Maxwell sank to his knees, fumbling with his toolkit. His fingers, still clumsy from cryosleep, struggled with the delicate components. "What exactly are we looking for?" Finn asked, helping to steady Maxwell's hands. "My original fix used a quantum harmonic dampener to stabilize the resonator feedback loop," Maxwell explained, withdrawing a small device from his toolkit. "I called it Maxwell's demon because it seemed to violate the laws of thermodynamics. It creates a localized bubble of altered physics that allows the gravitational fields to self-regulate." "That's theoretically impossible," Finn objected. "Yet here we are, 38 years later." Maxwell retorted, "The problem is I designed it to gracefully fail after 48 hours by gradually dissipating its effect. Instead, something caused it to maintain partial functionality far beyond its intended lifespan. And now it's finally breaking down," Lux concluded. "Not just breaking down," Maxwell corrected, consulting his notebook. "It's oscillating between states, which is causing harmonic disruptions throughout the tether structure. If we don't stabilize it soon, the resonator will shatter completely." A violent tremor shook the corridor, sending all three of them sprawling against the walls. Warning lights flashed crimson as the station's AI announced, "Structural integrity at 3%. 9 minutes to catastrophic failure." Maxwell struggled to his feet, his face set with determination. "We need to get to the central chamber now. Finn, help me with this panel." Together, they pried open an access panel, revealing a pulsing, chaotic mass of energy beyond. The gravitational forces emanating from the chamber were visible as distortions in the air itself. "That's the resonator core," Maxwell said, his voice hushed with awe. "My demon should be attached directly to the main coupling." "I don't see how anyone could survive in there," Lux said, her usual confidence faltering. Maxwell withdrew a small device from his toolkit. "This is a portable version of the gravity-dampening field my demon generates. It should protect whoever goes in, at least for a few minutes." "Should?" Finn echoed nervously. "It was experimental when I built it 38 years ago," Maxwell admitted. "Never actually field-tested it beyond simulations." Another, stronger tremor rocked the corridor. Overhead, support beams groaned in protest as the gravitational distortions intensified. "Structural integrity at 2%, the AI reported, on 7 minutes to catastrophic failure." Maxwell made a decision. "I'm going in. My body's already compromised from the cryosleep. I have the least to lose." "That's exactly why you shouldn't go," Finn argued. "Your muscle control is erratic. You need steady hands for this kind of precision work." "And I'm the only one who fully understands how the demon works," Maxwell countered. Lux rolled her eyes. "How about this? Maxwell talks Finn through the procedure while I maintain the perimeter and make sure we don't get any unwanted company from Captain Protocol out there." Both men looked at her in surprise, then nodded in agreement. "Here," Maxwell said, handing the gravity dampener to Finn along with several specialized tools. "When you reach the coupling, you'll see what looks like a silver spoon embedded in a crystalline matrix. That's the quantum waveguide. It needs to be rotated exactly 47.3 degrees counterclockwise, then reseated in the harmonic amplifier." Finn swallowed hard but took the equipment with steady hands. 47.3 degrees counterclockwise, reseat an amplifier, got it. "And take this," Maxwell added, tearing a page from his notebook. "The calibration sequence for the dampening field. Once the waveguide is repositioned, You'll need to recalibrate the field to match the new harmonics. Finn studied the complex equations and diagrams. This is unconventional. That's why it worked when everything else failed, Maxwell said with a hint of pride. Sometimes the best engineering ignores the rulebook. Activating the portable dampening field. Finn cautiously approached the chamber entrance. The air around him shimmered as the device created a protective bubble against the crushing gravitational forces. "Hey, good luck, kid," Maxwell called as Finn stepped into the maelstrom of the central chamber. Inside, Finn found himself in a nightmare of physics gone wrong. Multiple gravitational vectors pulled at his body simultaneously, making each movement a careful calculation. The dampening field held, but he could feel it struggling against the chaotic forces surrounding him. "I'm in," he reported through his comm unit. It's beautiful in a terrifying way." The resonator core dominated the center of the chamber, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with energy. And there, just as Maxwell had described, was a silver dessert spoon embedded in an intricate array of quantum circuitry. "I see the spoon," Finn confirmed, inching closer. "It's vibrating rapidly, creating some kind of standing wave in the crystalline matrix. That's the quantum waveguide intercepting and redirecting the harmonic resonance," Maxwell explained in his ear. "It's oscillating because the calibration has degraded. You need to rotate it precisely to re-establish the proper harmonic sequence." Finn reached for the spoon with micro-manipulator tools, his hands steady despite the gravitational chaos around him. "This would be a bad time to mention I failed quantum engineering twice, right? Just follow my instructions exactly," Maxwell replied tensely. Outside in the corridor, another violent tremor shook the station. Lux braced herself against the wall as ceiling panels crashed down around them. "Structural integrity at 1%, the AI announced. 5 minutes to catastrophic failure." "Finn needs to hurry," Lux said, glancing anxiously at the chamber entrance. Maxwell nodded grimly. "If that resonator goes critical, the gravitational backlash will tear this station apart in seconds." In the central chamber, Finn carefully gripped the quantum waveguide with his tools. "Beginning rotation now," he reported, slowly turning the spoon counterclockwise. The crystalline matrix around it flared with energy, sending painful feedback through his tools and into his hands. He cried out. "The harmonic backlash is increasing." "That's normal," Maxwell assured him. "It'll get worse before it gets better, but keep going, steady rotation." Finn gritted his teeth and continued turning the waveguide. The gravitational distortions in the chamber intensified, threatening to overwhelm his dampening field. "Almost at 47.3 degrees, he gasped. "When you reach the precise angle, there should be a moment of harmonic concordance," Maxwell instructed. "A brief pause in the oscillations. That's your window to reseat it in the amplifier." In the corridor, Maxwell and Lux watched the monitoring displays with growing alarm. The tether's structural integrity was fluctuating wildly, dropping to near zero before spiking briefly upward. "What's happening?" Lux demanded. "The resonator is trying to re-establish its harmonic pattern," Maxwell explained. "Each spike represents a moment when Finn's adjustments temporarily align with the natural frequency of the tether." Inside the chamber, Finn felt the change instantly. The chaotic forces suddenly paused, suspended in an eerie moment of perfect stillness. "Now!" he whispered to himself, quickly reseating the spoon in its amplifier coupling. The moment the connection was made, a blinding flash of energy erupted from the resonator core, throwing Finn backward. He collided painfully with the chamber wall, his dampening field flickering dangerously. "Finn," Maxwell called urgently through the comm. "Status report." For several agonizing seconds, there was only static. Then weakly, "I'm alive." Waveguide is repositioned, moving to calibration sequence. With shaking hands, Finn input the complex sequence of commands Maxwell had provided, initializing the recalibration of the dampening field. The resonator core pulsed rhythmically now, its chaotic oscillations gradually stabilizing into a harmonious pattern. "Structural integrity stabilizing at 2%, the AI announced, recalculating failure timeline. In the Emergency Operations Center, Eliza watched the monitoring displays with bated breath. The catastrophic failure warnings were being replaced by stabilization indicators across all systems. "What's happening?" Governor Hardwick demanded, having arrived minutes earlier. "They're actually doing it," Eliza replied, her voice filled with wonder. "They're stabilizing the tether." In the central chamber, Finn completed the final calibration sequence. The resonator core now hummed with steady, controlled energy, its gravitational fields realigning to their proper configurations. "A calibration complete," he reported triumphantly. "The demon is dancing again." He carefully made his way back to the chamber entrance, his dampening field now working in harmony with the stabilized gravitational forces rather than fighting against them. "Structural integrity rising," the AI announced. 3%, 5%, 7%. When Finn emerged from the chamber, exhausted but grinning, Maxwell and Lux were waiting. The corridor had stopped shaking, and the warning lights had dimmed from urgent red to cautionary amber. "You did it, kid," Maxwell said, clasping Finn's shoulder. "You've saved 30 million lives." "We did it," Finn corrected, handing the equipment back to Maxwell. "Your impossible fix just got a new lease on life." "Not for long," Maxwell cautioned. "Even with the recalibration, this is still a temporary solution. The fundamental design was never meant to last this long." "But it will hold until we can implement a proper replacement?" Lux asked. Maxwell nodded. "It should last another few months at least. Plenty of time to requisition and install a proper resonator this time." He gave a wry smile. "Assuming someone remembers to do it." "I think that particular lesson has been learned," came Governor Hardwick's voice from the corridor entrance, where he stood alongside Eliza and a chastened-looking Captain Voss. "Structural integrity at 15% and rising steadily." The AI reported the catastrophic failure averted, recalculating orbital stability parameters. "Mr. Howell," the governor continued, stepping forward to offer his hand. "New Proxima Station owes you an incalculable debt, both for your original ingenuity and for your assistance today." Maxwell shook the offered hand weakly, his strength fading rapidly now that the immediate crisis had passed. "What I really need," he said, "is a proper medical evaluation and about a year of physical therapy." "Already arranged," Eliza assured him. "We have a cryo-rehabilitation pod prepared in the medical center, state-of-the-art, much better than the outdated model you've been stuck in for decades." As medical technicians arrived with a null-field stretcher, Maxwell allowed himself to be carefully transferred onto it. The events of the past hour, not to mention waking up 38 years in the future, had taken their toll on his fragile post-cryo body. "Don't put me under for another 4 decades, he instructed the medical team with a weak smile. "I'd hate to miss seeing what becomes of this place." "You have my personal guarantee," Governor Hardwick assured him solemnly. As the medical team prepared to transport Maxwell to the rehabilitation center, he caught Finn's eye. "When I wake up," he said, "I want to see the schematics for that new resonator design you mentioned." "Sounds like it could use some unconventional thinking." Finn grinned. "I'll have them ready, along with several dessert spoons for testing." 5 years later, Maxwell Howell stood at a podium in the newly christened Howell Institute of Gravitational Engineering. At 67 biological years old, though technically 105 according to his birth certificate, He had fully recovered from his extended cryosleep and had spent the intervening years catching up on 4 decades of technological advancement, and occasionally pointing out where that advancement had missed opportunities for creative innovation. The Grand Hall was filled with dignitaries, engineers, and a new generation of students eager to learn from the man whose improvised repair had saved 30 million lives and revolutionized gravitational tether theory. Traditional engineering teaches us to follow established protocols, Maxwell was saying, his voice strong and confident. And there's wisdom in that approach. But sometimes, the most elegant solutions come from thinking beyond the rulebook. In the front row, Finn Abernathy, now chief engineer of New Proxima Station, nodded in agreement. Beside him sat Lux Donovan, who had parlayed her role in the tether crisis into a legitimate position as the station's official procurement specialist, though rumors persisted about her continued connections to the black market. Dr. Eliza Morgan, recently promoted to Chief Science Officer, watched from the side of the stage, a smile playing at her lips as she recalled how skeptical she'd initially been of Maxwell's unorthodox methods. The new resonator system incorporating the quantum waveguide principles we've developed here at the Institute has now been implemented in all 7 of New Proxima's gravitational tethers. Maxwell continued, and similar systems are being deployed in orbital stations throughout the galaxy. He paused, his gaze finding Governor Hardwick in the audience. All because someone forgot to replace a 48-hour temporary fix, he added with a mischievous twinkle in his eye. Laughter rippled through the crowd, though Hardwick's smile looked somewhat forced. The lesson here isn't that we should rely on luck or happenstance, Maxwell clarified. Rather, it's that we should never underestimate the power of human ingenuity, especially when armed with a dessert spoon and a clear understanding of quantum harmonics. More laughter, warmer this time. And perhaps most importantly, Maxwell concluded, we should remember to keep proper records of our innovations, especially the unconventional ones. Knowledge preserved is civilization safeguarded. As the audience rose in a standing ovation, Maxwell stepped back from the podium, feeling a profound sense of satisfaction. From forgotten mechanic to revered pioneer, his journey had been as improbable as his gravity-defying repair, outside the Institute's panoramic windows. New Proxima Station gleamed in the golden light of its host planet, 30 million lives continuing their daily routines, unaware of how close they had come to catastrophe, or how a single act of desperate creativity had saved them all. Maxwell's gaze drifted to the massive gravitational tethers visible in the distance, their sleek new designs incorporating principles derived from his improvised fix. Each one now housed a quantum waveguide at its core, still spoon-shaped, though crafted from advanced materials rather than commissary silverware. Some traditions, he thought with a smile, were worth preserving. As the ceremony concluded and the attendees moved toward the reception area, Finn approached Maxwell with a glass of champagne. To the man who taught me that sometimes the best solution isn't in any textbook, he toasted. And to the student who had the courage to implement it. Maxwell returned, clinking glasses. Lux joined them, her formal attire a far cry from the utilitarian garb she'd worn during the crisis. I just closed a deal to supply quantum waveguides to the Centauri Coalition, she announced proudly. Legitimate business is surprisingly profitable when you're selling revolutionary technology. Hey, just don't tell them it's based on a dessert spoon, Maxwell chuckled. Dr. Morgan approached, accompanied by a group of eager young students. Professor Howell, she said with mock formality, your admirers await. As Maxwell turned to greet the students, Governor Hardwick intercepted him. A moment of your time. Mr. Howell, he requested quietly. The 2 men stepped aside, finding a quiet corner away from the celebration. "I wanted to personally thank you again," Hardwick said, his voice low. "Not just for saving the station, but for your discretion regarding the administrative oversights that led to the crisis." Maxwell raised an eyebrow. "You mean forgetting about me for 38 years and nearly causing a catastrophe that would have killed everyone on this station?" Hardwick winced. "Bluntly put, but yes." "Water under the bridge, Governor," Maxwell assured him. "Though I do wonder if the original incident report, the one classifying my repair as temporary, still exists in your secure archives." A flicker of alarm crossed Hardwick's face. "Why do you ask?" Maxwell smiled innocently. "Just curious about what the official record shows. After all, if my 48-hour fix lasted 38 years, imagine what my permanent solutions might accomplish." "I'll have my staff look into it," Hardwick promised, clearly uncomfortable. As the governor excused himself, Eliza sidled up to Maxwell. "Still tormenting the bureaucrats, I see." "It's one of life's little pleasures," Maxwell admitted, "especially when they deserve it." Eliza laughed. "Well, you've earned the right. Your contributions to gravitational engineering have rewritten textbooks across the galaxy. Not bad for a guy who broke every regulation in the book," Maxwell mused. "Though sometimes rules need to be broken," Eliza conceded, "especially when 30 million lives hang in the balance." Maxwell nodded thoughtfully, his gaze returning to the gravitational tethers outside. His impossible fix had not only saved New Proxima, but had changed the trajectory of engineering throughout human space. All because he dared to try something unconventional when conventional solutions had failed. "You know," he said quietly, "I never intended to revolutionize anything. I just wanted to keep the station from falling apart until the proper equipment arrived. The best innovations often start that way," Eliza observed, "necessity driving improvisation, leading to discovery." Maxwell raised his glass in a silent toast to the gleaming tethers, monuments to human ingenuity and the enduring power of creative problem-solving. In a universe of rigid protocols and standardized solutions, sometimes all it took was a dessert spoon and the courage to think differently, and a very, very good hiding place for one's notebook.